Hi, this is Guillem, and welcome to the second video of the NKS FTW reviews. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Embertone Joshua Bell Violin, which is what you're hearing in the background right now. This track I have open, which you are seeing on my screen, is what I'm playing right now. It has instruments from a variety of libraries, some of which I may be reviewing in the future, such as Red Room Palette Symphonic Sketchpad, which is truly an amazing library, and I will definitely be taking a look at it in future videos. For now, we're going to be focusing on this track down here, which is the Joshua Bell Violin. I'm going to let you hear this part of the track, the violin solo. I'm just going to play it from here. I have turned off the reverb so that you can hear the instrument more clearly and so that I can play it when I start showing you the parameters. So here we go. And I'm going to solo the instrument right here. So this is the Joshua Bell Violin. I have my complete control keyboard over here, and I have the violin track armed so that I can play it. So what we have loaded right now is the master mod wheel control preset. This violin has, I believe it has 4 built-in presets for controlling it. These are the presets for the control editor, which is one of the biggest part of the violin, and sadly one of the most inaccessible. Or, well, in fact, it's completely inaccessible. But the built-in presets are actually very decent and do give you control over pretty much everything. So I have not been in a situation when I have needed the control editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload the instrument so that we get the simple keyboard control instrument. Control preset, which is what you get when you load it up.
Plugin, browser results Joshua Bell Violin.
Right here. And what this preset will do is, first of all, it will let me control the dynamics with velocity. This is not going to give you as much control over the dynamics as if you were using one of the other presets, such as Master Mod Wheel, but it does give you a very, very nice playing experience. So if I play right now, this is what the instrument sounds like. So, as you can see, it's extremely playable. So right now, if I play really loud or really soft notes, I will get the portamento legato. And because this is simple keyboard control, this also changes the dynamics. For everything else, for any other velocity, it will change between bowing and slurring legato as needed. This has really good quick legato. So the main way in which you control this instrument, especially in simple keyboard control, is by using the key switches. So for example, I have a key switch down here which will activate the sol ponti. These also have different dynamic levels. You have sol tasto. And further down below,
Octave 0.
This is going to be a little bit harder for me because I have a 32 key controller. But you have your ricochets, which are somewhat unusual for a violin library. Lots of round robins. You have pizzicatos, which also include Bartok pizzicatos over here. These are triggered by a higher velocity on the regular pizzicato. We have harmonics with true legato.
Octave plus 2.
The range of the violin is amazing. It goes up to here with
Octave
no
plus 3.
harmonics.
Octave plus 2.
With harmonics,
Octave 0.
this goes up to,
Octave plus 4.
which is a pretty piercing sound, but you have it just in case you need it.
Octave
And of
0.
course you have your standard
Octave minus 1.
staccatos right here. These are spiccatos, I think. And these are longer staccatos. Trills, major and minor. Tremolo. And you can switch in and out of these because they're latching key switches, so you can play a note, then switch to tremolo, and right back. Same with harmonics.
Octave 0.
This is pretty amazing. So, I'm going to start going over the NKS parameters. The first page
Performance.
is performance. So,
Performance dynamics.
the first knob we have over here is not very usable. I'm sorry, it's not very useful. It's not usable at all in simple keyboard control because what it allows us to do is to change the dynamics. Most of the time you won't need this because you'll be using either master mod wheel or pro controller config, which I think both of those map the dynamics to the mod wheel. So you will not be needing this knob, but it's there just in case you get someone to help you design a custom preset and you want it. Next up is
Debate MT.
vibrato amount. This is for not the recorded vibrato. This is for the scripted vibrato, which you get if you trigger a non-vibrato sample, which in this case happens randomly. This will be something I explain later. But if I play and I get a non-vibrato sample, like just now, I can move this up or
Debate
down,
MT. Debate MT.
and that affects
Debate
the
MT.
the scripted vibrato. Same for the vibrato speed over here.
The best BD.
I
Debate
turn
MT.
this up and
Debate
change
MT.
the speed.
The best BD.
It affects the speed of the scripted
The
vibrato.
best BD.
So, of course, the recorded vibrato is not affected. And most of the time, you're not going to need the scripted vibrato, but it's there just in case.
Verb AMT.
The
Verb
verb
AMT.
AMT is reverb amount, so you can turn this off entirely. And even with the reverb off, the legato is extremely high quality, at least in my
Octave
opinion.
plus 1.
So the funny thing about this quick legato, and this is a side note, is that with a lot of libraries to do these little ornaments, you would need a separate articulation with phrases. I am just playing these notes. And it's handling them perfectly fine, and there is not much of a noticeable lag. So this is it. Honestly, to me, that's pretty amazing. As a pianist, to me it's amazing that an instrument responds so well to the keyboard. Moving on, we have the verb type, which changes the impulse response.
Verb type.
This is a
verb type.
I'm sorry. This is a much longer reverb.
Verb type.
These are just different responses that you have. I'm
Verb
going to go
type.
back to the default, and I'm going to go over to the next knob.
Moan. Poly.
Okay, this one is one of the most interesting. So right now, if I play multiple notes, if I start playing with 2 notes or more, it will trigger a double stop in this case. But as soon as I play more notes, it will be completely monophonic. So this is because we're in mono or solo mode. If we move this to the right, we get the polyphonic legato. This is not something I usually use if I'm recording something, but it's definitely very useful, and for playing it, it's absolutely amazing. I have spent probably hours playing with this. So what this does is it tracks the voices that you're playing. So if you play more than one voice and continue playing, so as you can see, it's tracking my voices almost perfectly. I get very much carried away by this mode. So I'm going to turn
No
it back
parameter.
off
No. Moan. Poly.
and go over to the next knob.
Legato.
This one you're not going to be using much. What this does is it turns off the legato entirely. This does help with the memory, but if you play regularly with this off, first of all, I think it limits your dynamic layers. And it pretty much gets rid of all of the legato transitions. This is useful if you're only going to use some of the other articulations, because it does free up some memory. But if you're just playing the default patch, please keep this on.
Nope. Legato.
Unless you have a very specific reason to turn it off. The last parameter in this page is unmapped. So I'm going to go over to the next page,
No parameter.
which is
Randomize. Humanize.
randomize and humanize. So the first 2 parameters are part of the randomize section.
Randomize. Slur. Bow.
Slur, bow. So what this does is if you have it set to somewhere in the middle, it will randomize between slurring and bowing the legatos. So you can hear that some of these are bowed. I think it's more toward the slur side right now. I could be wrong.
Slur. Bow.
But if you turn this, for example, all the way to the left, it's all slurred. And if I turn this to the right, this is bowed. So the same goes for the second knob,
non-vib,
which is vibrato or non-vibrato. So if I turn this all the way to the left, and if I turn it to the right, all non-vibrato. So then we go over to the humanized section. Dynamic movement. What this lets you do is if you have it on and you play, It's moving the dynamic up and down as it pleases, which in most cases sounds pretty odd, but it does have its uses. The next one is dynamic movement speed, which actually works the other way around. So if I turn it down, the speed is very fast. If I turn it the other way around,
MVT SPD.
it's much slower. So I'm going to turn this off entirely, and the next knob is attack pitch. So these last three knobs are interesting. These are for basically simulating realism. This one is attack pitch, so if I turn it all the way to the right and I hit a note repeatedly, you will see that there is some instability in the pitch. It does center, but the beginning is slightly unstable. This is more apparent in louder notes. So the next one is speed pitch. What this does is it creates some instability when you're playing really fast. So if you're playing a fast run, it kind of creates a tiny little bit of instability the faster that you play. And the next one is interval pitch. This one,
SPD pitch.
The greater the separation between your notes, the greater the interval between your notes, the more instability there is going to be. And you can see that it's centering the note as it plays it, which does actually help a lot with realism, especially with slow passages. That's all the NKS parameters that we have. I do wish that we had a couple more that are available through the UI, namely the EQ presets, of which we do have a few. These are not something you can control via the NKS. And the portamento speed, which was added in version 1.1 just a few weeks ago at the time of recording this video. There's not much else that you have in the UI. Most of this, when in one of the control presets, can be done with just the key switches. So the biggest problem right now is switching the control presets. The way that I do it as a blind person is I'm on Windows right now. I'm using Reaper on Windows with the NVDA screen reader. I just open the effects window and pull up the complete control over here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on the screen. I'm going to let you hear my screen reader. And what I do is I OCR this window, and I find the part of it that says control down here. Control. So usually when this works, which I believe in this case it didn't, I'm going to quickly click control again, is it will show sometimes the first word of the names of the control preset. So simple for simple keyboard control, master for master mod wheel. You have also the, I believe it's called intuitive shorts. And there's one more, pro controller config. So if I find, for example, the master mod wheel preset,
all types, outs for characters, read instru 2, X, 0, X, presets and brass, dry sample, Joshua Bell kitchen lamp, low strings, matches, oven door, palette, primitive projects, Sam -4, pro, simple key, NTU, TV, simple key, row control, and master.
Master. In this case, I was able to see the whole entire name for simple keyboard control, and also
and pro controller config.
Pro controller config. So right now, it doesn't matter what velocity I press the keys in. What does matter is if I move the mod wheel, This also does affect the vibrato on lower velocities. I'm sorry, on lower dynamics. You can see that I still have the interval pitch and instability up. The reason why this is called Master Mod Wheel, like I was saying, is this does have the vibrato control also set to the mod wheel. This is not much of a problem most of the time, but to counteract this, you can move the vibrato and non-vibrato slider in this second page of the NKS controls.
Randomize, humanize, randomize slur, bow, veb, non-veb.
And that will let you randomize it a little bit, or put it exactly where you want it. So I'm going to close down this window.
Home, complete, F extract, add button.
And
Homecoming J.
go back over here. So this is pretty much all of the controls that are available. Like I said, I don't think there is much missing. The Embertone developers have actually been very, very receptive to feedback regarding accessibility and such things. And I believe that they are creating a spreadsheet with the default mappings for all the presets. So we will be able to see exactly what is on what key switch and what is on what CC for all of the built-in control presets, which is extremely helpful since it is not impossible to switch these presets. And it will definitely help a lot. Hopefully, they will also add some snapshots with the different presets. You can already do this yourself if you have someone who can look at the screen, or if you have a way to save your snapshots. You just change the preset and save them. I have not done this yet because this is not too terribly hard to do, but it would definitely be easier through the snapshots. So that's pretty much it for the Joshua Bell Violin. I think it's honestly a pretty amazing instrument for a more than decent price. You can obtain this from the embertone.com website. That's embertone.com. Embertone is also a partner of the Able Artist Foundation, so you can take advantage of the 50% scholarship if you're eligible for that. Again, this was Guillaume with NKS FTW Reviews, and I hope to see you in the next videos. Bye!